Thank you, Dennis. Do any of you have any questions for him?
Dennis, I had a question. Randy Lansing, town manager.
Yes.
Do you have an idea what the rents would be for the 1, 2, and 3? And maybe you said that and I didn't catch it.
No, that's a great question. What we because we're an affordable housing developer, we will have rents that are set aside for each different income level, and it goes to the area medium income of those residents. So if I can give a sort of an example, Randy, as to what we would be charging, I'll give you the net monthly rent. For instance, a 1-bedroom will go from $380 a month to $835. So it depends the income level that you would have. And then for a 2-bedroom, it would go from $451 to $996. And then for a 3-bedroom, it would go from $519 to $1,149.
Okay, thank you.
And for everybody's, we are live streaming now, finally.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions for Dennis?
Dennis, you said that a certain number of units would be set aside for handicap.
Correct.
Was it 6 units?
That is correct. 6 units. Yes.
And for those with sight and hearing impairment,
Those would be 2 units.
2 units, that's one.
Maybe I can give you an indication, just the size of the units. We're looking at 676 for the 1-bedroom, 900 for the 2-bedroom, and 1,111 for the 3-bedroom.
Dennis, Randy Lansing again. Do you have a projection or a time frame? I know workforce housing credits have to be applied for and awarded before you begin, but maybe an expected schedule.
I think, Randy, thanks for that question. I think we have put the applications in at the moment, and we would expect North Carolina Housing Finance Agency to make their awards. It should be in August. COVID-19 may postpone that by 1 month. That would be sort of August, September. We would then probably take about another 4 to 5 months to complete the actual design process and start going through the actual permitting process. That would of course, the whole permits would come back through the city to be reviewed. And so Randy, we would be most likely ready to start construction about the same time as the road widening utilities would be completed at this particular location. So I could see construction starting to take place end of spring 2021, just before summer of 2021. And for a development like this, it would take 12 months to complete. And the market study that came out was very, very positive. So we would be thinking it would take less than 4 months, about 3 to 4 months to actually lease up the property to full capacity, the 55 units. So I'm thinking fall of 2022 is when the property would be in full swing and full operation.
Any other questions for Mr. Blackburn?
Dennis, you said that the facade would be brick.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, the siding would be, we would have, some parts would have brick. We would have a mixture of brick and other fabrics, other materials.
How high would the brick go, proposed to go? Is it low burn or is midway up?
No, this would be a wood frame construction. So the masonry would be on the outside. And what we would typically do is we would put, more masonry, more brick towards the front on a side, and towards the back there'd be obviously a little less. but approximately out of a 3-story building, you'd have the first story would be brick.
Okay,
But as an average, I would say most cases we would have some parts where the brick would go higher to create, to break up any idea of a one large building, and some parts may go lower.
okay.
Dennis, you said that the utilities would be included in the rent.
Correct. Yes.
Oh.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In other words,
The
water.
only utilities the residents would pay would be the electricity.
Now, the cost per unit, 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms, the cost you just quoted, do those costs include the utilities?
Those costs, yes, that includes the net cost the resident would actually pay as rent.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Any other questions or input? If not, Mr. Blackburn, we thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing the information with us.
Thank you for having me via Zoom. It would have been a rather difficult journey to drive up from Savannah today, trying to fight Bertha, who I think is on your way. I hope you're not affected with too much rain at this moment.
Dennis, do you also have an office in Charlotte?
Yeah, we do. We have an office in Charlotte. Yes.
Maybe one final question. Last night's public hearing, Dennis, you mentioned some other locations around the Nashville area where you have similar developments. And maybe you already said that here this evening and I missed it, but if not, could you summarize those?
Sure. I think I did mention it, but I'd love to mention again. We have Ravenwood Crossing in Rocky Mount, Shepherd Green in Zebulon, and Rooney Ridge in Roanoke Rapids.
And the last 2 are senior facilities.
The last 2 are senior facilities. Exactly.
Okay, we thank you so much. Do you have anything else, Dennis, that you'd like to share with us?
Not at this time. I remain, of course, available for any other questions that you may have. Randy knows how to reach me.
And we thank you so kindly. Have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
At this time, we'll move on to 6B, and this is Z 2020-02, request to rezone property located at Southeastern Avenue from B1 General Business Zoning District to an R4 Residential Zoning District. This parcel contains approximately 9.36 acres, and the parent parcel is identified as Nash County Tax Parcel 3810064845190. Randy, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. Our second public hearing tonight is on another rezoning request. And this one is from David Rose. He owns property behind the Food Lion here in Nashville. And here this evening to give the details on the proposal is Mike Stocks with Stocks Engineering. Mike, I'll give the floor to you.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, one, I want to thank everyone for practicing the social distancing, criteria, separating, staying 6 foot apart. And I would not be here tonight if I didn't live about 2 minutes from here. So it was convenient and it worked out well, but thank you for putting in these measures. So the project you have before you tonight is a rezoning of a portion of the property immediately behind Food Line in Nashville. When you go south on East Point Avenue, past the Boyce Willis Clinic, it is the property immediately to your right, immediately behind the Food Line. The entire field between the Food Line and the railroad tracks and the boundary to the left is over 40 acres. The field to the right is approximately 20 acres. The portion we're rezoning tonight is about 9.6 acres of that field. The concept is to develop phase one of a single-family residential subdivision. And phase two would be the additional 20 acres connected to this 9.6 or the additional 11 acres, which would go all the way to the railroad tracks. I will give Mrs. Hinton this and she can pass it around. But the area to the top of that paper, Mrs. Hinton, is the phase one and what we're proposing tonight. And then the other will still be in farmland until the first 40 sell, and then the remaining 62 can be built.
So this is on the north side of the railroad track.
This is on the north side of the railroad tracks. This development will not cross
Cross
the
the
railroad tracks.
And these are single family.
They are single-family detached dwelling units, single-family detached. Land is currently zoned B1, and we're proposing to rezone it to R4, but the lots themselves will have a minimum of 50-foot wide frontage and 120 feet deep for 6,000 square feet. And the reason we selected the R4 zoning was to get the side setbacks we needed for the width of the detached unit, which I believe was 8 feet. 8 feet. So the units will be 16 feet apart, but 8 foot on each side.
How many units did you say this, what total units?
This phase 41, total 103.
Okay.
And with that, I'll open any questions you might have and I'll try to answer them for you.
Mike, did you say 6,000 square foot per lot?
Yes, ma'am. The lots are 50 foot wide, 120 feet deep. There will be some screening in the back, you know, on the food line side, which will take up part of that 20 foot. But that will, with these size lots, that'll leave a building pad area to be 34, 35 foot wide, 75 foot deep by the time you adjust it for the setbacks and all.
Will there be any kind of buffer between the food line property and the housing development?
There will be a buffer, either a fence or vegetation of some type to shield the back of the building. Yes, ma'am.
Will there be an access from the opposite side of the track? Or will all the access be up from the north side?
All the proposed access right now is off East Point Avenue.
Okay.
There has been discussions, I guess, over the years about extending East Point over to Oak Level.
Right.
That is not in this concept now.
So the only way in would be through East Point.
East Point, the light at the Walmart turning north on or turning south on East Point Avenue.
When is construction plan to start?
According to David Rhodes and Steve Newcomb, they wanted to start about 2 months ago. And we will immediately go to design of the subdivision as soon as zoning is approved, get the permits, and construction should start later this year.
So this should be completed by sometime in 2021.
There's no doubt there should be homes in 2021 if all goes according to plan.
What size homes are we looking at?
I do not know. The homes will probably, and I'm trying to think out loud because I've seen a footprint. Homes are 34 foot wide. So if they're 30 foot wide and 50 foot deep, that's 1,500 square foot. So 1,500 square feet, but I do not know. I'm not the builder and I don't do the vertical build, but that's the footprint that would fit on the lot.
And that includes phase two as well. I mean, the lots would be the same size.
Yes, the concept is the same. Yes, ma'am.
R4 includes duplexes, but these are strictly
Oh, these
single
are
family.
single family detached dwelling, no duplexes.
Is that the intent for the rest, the
Yeah,
103?
the way it's laid out in front of you. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions for Mike?
Are these slab homes?
I do not know.
You don't know.
You don't know.
Mike, we thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Well, I just want to follow up on these two public hearings. This is, the time and place for the public hearing. We didn't have anybody signed up to give public comment, but we are required by state statute now with live streaming and Zooming our meetings in order to satisfy the requirements for public input. We have to delay decisions on this. The council will take these rezonings up at its June 2nd council meeting. The Planning Commission, the Planning Board, which met last night, is meeting again tomorrow night. We have to give 24 hours in between the public hearing and the decision phase. And both of these rezonings will come from the Planning Board with a recommendation to the council next Tuesday to approve, not approve. And in that time frame, then, the public, they're watching tonight here, live streaming or via Zoom, they will have opportunity to comment on this, and those comments will be made known at tomorrow night's Planning Board meeting and next Tuesday's council meeting.
Thank you, Randy. Do I hear a motion for us to come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
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 Let's move on to our old business. And this is the resolution instating utility customer account late payment penalties and disconnections. And the summary, I'm sure you've read it. I'll just read that for those that are watching in. On March 30th, 2020, the Town of Nashville Council adopted Resolution 2020-06, ceasing all utility account late penalties and disconnections due to late or non-payment per Executive Order 124. Executive Order 124 is set to terminate on June 1st, 2020. The attached resolution reinstates late penalties and disconnections upon termination of Executive Order 124. Executive Order 124 also directs utility providers to offer a payment plan to customers who accrued an outstanding balance during the effective period of Executive Order 124. And then the attached resolution directs the Finance Department to offer payment plan to all utility customers with outstanding balances and to notify them in writing of the terms of the payment plan. Anyone like to comment? Sam, you or Randy on that?
So we actually have already sent out a letter
Good.
offering the payment plan. We sent that out late last week. We've already had a few customers who have taken that offer up. We've also had several just this last few days who have made their payments. What we're seeing is that customers are still making their payments, but they're basically waiting until the very last minute to pay those bills. So we've had, due to some software issues, we are extending this payment plan to all customers, current customers with an outstanding balance. There just were a small handful of customers who had outstanding balances prior to this. So it just makes sense for us to go ahead and extend the payment plan. Hopefully we can get some folks to take advantage of that and pay. And also because we are required to offer a 6-month period of time for them to make those payments. That 6-month period per the executive order ends on December 1st, which is in the middle of our billing cycle. So we have extended that to December 18th. So we are giving them 1 additional month. So we're not going to begin this payment plan until July 18th. So we are not required, the customer is not required to sign up for the payment plan, sign any documents per this. I mean, that's what we've been told, the guidance on that. So we are basically automatically signing because everybody is assigned to a payment plan. We notify them of the payment plan. By July 18th, anyone who has not followed the payment plan, they will be then assessed a late fee. And then by the following August 1st, they will be subject to termination or disconnection at that time.
Approximately how many delinquencies do you think we have, Sam?
We sent about 500 letters out, but the vast majority of those were 0 to 30 days. So we will likely collect the vast majority of that by the end of this month. We just got, it's included, I've included a small summary there for you. We just got a small amount that's over 30 days past that.
On average, how many do we have late payments?
between 20 and 30, and right now it's 46,000. So it has increased, but at this time, they just don't have an incentive to pay. So once these late fees, once we're able to start doing that again, and hopefully with the payment plan, it's a generous plan, giving them 6 months, hopefully that can help.
A little follow-up on this, when we talked about this last, there was discussion, well, the governor could choose to extend Executive Order 124. I haven't heard that that is officially being talked about. The the North Carolina Municipal League has not left that to chance. Yesterday, the membership met with the governor's office and the governor's staff and urged them to carry through with the sunset date on this executive order. And asked him if he did extend it, if that extension would be strictly for investor-owned utilities like Duke Energy, but not municipal utilities. Because municipal utilities, unlike Duke, they don't have the financial wherewithal to weather the storm, so to speak, by not getting typical revenue we do with late payments and reconnection fees after disconnection. So that has been requested for us on behalf of our North Carolina League of Cities. Again, I don't know if the governor will choose to do that. If he does, obviously this resolution here this evening, if you pass it, will be null and void. And we'll have to continue as we are. But at this point, it doesn't sound like that will happen. The other thing the league did with regard to the CARE Act that Congress passed, which brought COVID-19 relief money to the state level, and then the North Carolina General Assembly has dispersed a lot of that money out to the counties. And that legislation, they left it up to the counties whether they would share that with the municipalities within their county. I talked to ZLAM today, and the county commissioners have set aside $300,000 for the 10 towns in Nash County. So I think Sam had reported to you, in order for us to implement a telework policy and for the town staff, we had to buy about $14,000 worth of computers. And at the time we did that, we were thinking those would be reimbursable from FEMA under public assistance program. FEMA has not agreed to reimburse that we know of yet. But this cost sharing or this revenue sharing that Nash County is considering, we will be able to submit a plan to Nash County, which they will in turn put with their plan back to the Capitol on how the money is going to be spent. One thing I did reach out to the county, well, Sam did more so than I did, with regard to the revenue we would have received. This money is supposed to reimburse local governments for costs incurred as a result of COVID-19. Obviously, those computers were. There were revenues that we normally would have received in the form of late payments because of this executive order that we did not receive. It's questionable whether the CARE money coming through the state to the county, then ultimately to us, can be used to reimburse us for monies that we didn't collect because of the executive order on late payment fees being in place. But we're going to ask for it if you guys are okay with that. We won't know unless we ask.
So we have not requested any money from the county as of yet?
As of yet, our plan has to be there June 2nd. We will have it on the agenda for the June 2nd town council meeting for you guys to review, and then we'll submit it.
So it's 14,000 in computers.
It was 8,000, about 8,000.
Because I asked that
computers.
question.
The rest of that in that line item was PPE.
Okay.
I'm
Protective
sorry.
equipment, like gloves, things like that.
Falls under that category.
Because in reading the minutes, I had.
That's right, it was about 8,000 in computers.
I apologize.
And I have worded this resolution to say upon termination of Executive Order 124. So if the executive order is extended, this resolution will still,
No.
can still be effective. It will not be.
Thanks for that clarification.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion that we approve this resolution for the 2020-13 to start collecting?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? The resolution passes. Okay, do I have any comment from the council tonight?
The only thing I want to just remind everybody, even though you're not doing it here, but one of our guests alluded to the fact a while ago that we were practicing social distancing. People, let's take this serious. This epidemic is not over. It's not over. And I don't have any medical background and I'm not a scientist or nothing like that, but I expect for it to get worse before it gets better. So I don't hope that happens, but I just feel that it does because people, there's a lot of people that are not taking this thing serious. And when you don't take it serious, it's gonna come back and bite you. And I hope none of us, the town, any of our citizens, which some of us have had it, because like I alluded to the other meeting that we had, that the county said that 278, got my own zip code, 27856 zip code. Last time we met had 15 cases and half of those were in Nashville, in the Nashville city limits. So you don't know, I don't know if your neighbors got it. I don't know, you don't know if I got it, but I don't. But be very careful. Let's take this thing serious.
Lynn, do you have anything? Comments?
I'm fine. I'm
How
good.
about you, Louise?
There was something on WRAL today from Wiretech. They said that North Carolina leads the nation in numbers of people applying for loans, whether it's rainy day loans or home equity loans. And so to me, that's not a good omen.
I heard that too.
If we lead the nation, I mean, we're ahead of New York. Numbers of people applying for loans. That means people need money to cover. So I noticed this list of towns that are either holding the line in their budgets or I think that's important. I noticed Wake Forest is the only one that really is not, but that's one of the fastest growing towns in North Carolina, so.
That's right.
You're right, it's not over.
It's not over.
Well, I just appreciate you coming tonight. I appreciate the people in Nashville that have stayed positive during this and taken precautions. And my prayers that it will get over and that we can get back to normal as soon as possible. I know it will take time, but I'm ready for us to get back. Not necessarily exactly like we were, but to be able to be with our families and friends more. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
All right.
The meeting is adjourned.
Okay.